Bonsoir. Hello, good evening. And first news is that I have now a microphone. I'm not sure the volume is nice, but it should be better than it was last week's. And I will go for a long time with this one, so that's a headset, and that will be better for commentating the games and to appreciate that for you. So last time we reached the 6th cup, and we'll try to gain 5 games and to reach simply the 5 cup. And after that, I'm not sure if it will require 5 or 7 win to go beyond, but we'll check that. Alright, so simply let's play that. I will begin with Cho. Our opponent has played a ton of games and he hasn't played a lot in that league, so if we play well, we'll be able to win, very likely. Alright, so not opening this pawn because of the elephant threat. And we are heading for something very classic. Okay, threatening to fork with the elephant, and at the same time simply giving space. Since there is not so much material, I will try to play with my rook here, so even if the pawn gets out, I will bring the elephant so that the rook can't come in my side. And probably the best is to, bring the rook there. And maybe I will try to bring the other rook here in order to put a lot of pressure here, so we will have to retreat the knight here. But the problem is that the elephant here is not safe because of the cannon if the pawn moves, and I don't need that elephant. And as you can see, the idea of that cannon was to prevent the pawn and getting the file, but the problem is that it's not so easy to activate, so we'll play this move in order to retreat back the cannon and it will be activated. Okay, that's a nice move to give some play for the elephant, but the squares are not yet very annoying. And there's no real goal into doing this that threatens the rook, but simply there's a way to counter that, so we can or go back there or bring the cannon here in order to jump here or there. And I prefer to bring the cannon to that spot so that the elephant here is not stuck for a tempo. Okay, but that's in the end quite the same because there was not intermediary situations. And I may go for simply bringing the cannon in that spot. That won't achieve so much, so No, I won't bring the cannon here. '63, pushing, pawn takes, rook there, and we have a rook with a lot of holes. But he can also bring the pawn back to the center, and I think that's what he will be doing. So maybe going with the knight here, so that cannon there that threats the knight, so the knight has to move and then bring back the cannon to that spot. But before I have to lock the rook. Okay, so he's playing quite aggressive, pushing a lot of pawns with Han, and that's not what you necessarily have to do with Han, because you already have more points than your opponent, so there's no need to kind of push and rush, but at the same time that's giving some space, and he has already a nice defense. I can bring the king here because there's a cannon that will take the knight, and I will try to get some play for this rook. Okay, I want to check if he brings the knight to that square or if he retreats. Alright. So now we'll take that back, and if he takes with the pawn, that creates a hole here and my rook will go there, and if he took with the cannon, that's rook check and he has to bring back the pawn, and the idea was to bring the cannon back to have a solid defense. So here he preferred to create a hole. But before that, hello Julien. I will prevent the rook to go here when I take the square. And we have a double threat on that pawn, and also a threat here. This one may be a bit dangerous, because of course the pawn is not protected, but there is a lot of material that can come here actually. And let's go. So in that case, it's better to take with this rook since it's not activated, and if he refuses the exchange, then he loses the file. So basically he has to accept it. What may be annoying if for me was if he was thinking about pushing there, but it seems like he's not so into that. Alright, that's time to bring back, and now if he pushes, I simply bring the cannon. And that's a defense, that's okay. Okay, getting some strong center. But I will go with the elephant. Rook 43. Yeah, for now that's protected, but of course he has to mind the pinning. And I think I simply gave that elephant. Yeah. The problem is that if I take, I can take back with the cannon, and since the pawn is only supported by the cannon, then I can't take back. So that's not the best situation where you have only support with the cannon. And if I take here, he may take with the elephant. So in that case, yeah, now I bring the rook here, because if the elephant moves, then I can take the knight for free. But the idea is pawn takes. Alright. Maybe I don't care because that elephant has no squares. And now I can, if I take with the cannon, that's elephant takes, rook takes knight, threatening take back. Yeah. Since we are arriving in an endgame, I prefer to sacrifice my cannon for a knight. That's losing 2 pawns, but I also gain a pawn, so that's okay. And now I take this. Alright, so that creates a hole here. I have to be careful of those kind of traps that could lose a rook for me. And I'm not sure we'd be able to save that pawn. I could check with the elephant, but that's not a big deal yet. That's not great. I think I messed up something here, because that's a lot of pieces that are aligned. Yeah, that's elephant check, and I use that to buffer with another piece. But still, that's rook there, and I'm kind of pinned.
10초 남았습니다.
So there is an elephant here that protects this square. And that's actually the same here, so
10초 남았습니다.
maybe the best is simply to let go the elephant, but I will force his to go back to the corner before that. Alright, and now since the column here is controlled, I will try to use that, and it brings back the elephant. Alright, I will create a little barrier here. So I'm behind, considering the point, but that's only 1.5 points, which is the initial handicap. Can he take your elephant? Yes, I think he could.
10초 남았습니다.
Yeah, I know, like cannon takes. I think he could take, because if rook there, cannon here, and after he can come back, so there was no huge deal, and that elephant really sucks.
10초 남았습니다.
Right. Yeah, the knight sucks, but the knights are easier to recycle compared to elephants. And that's to bring the cannon. So we still have time.
10초 남았습니다.
Okay, so that if the cannon arrives there and one piece moves, I can simply play the rook somewhere else. And that's what I will be doing. Okay, so I bring the rook to that position because it's covered by the knight, and also, for example, if the elephant moves, it will protect the rook so that my rook won't be hanging. 9505, yeah, bringing down the king is good. And now he tries to take that pawn, which can be understood. My idea also with the knight is to reach this square. I cannot reach by this side because there's an elephant, so I have to play the other way. The cannon goes back here. Yeah, I did. I put the arrows in yellow, but that's not a big stuff.
(10초) 남았습니다.
Okay. His best bet is probably to go here. There's some Polish speaking, which I don't understand at all. The idea will be to, yeah, bring the cannon. So here, if I move the elephant, simply rook takes cannon, and since there is a cannon, that's dead, so I have to let go the elephant for the pawn.
10초 남았습니다.
And that's what I will be doing right now. And here he wants to bring the cannon there in order if pawn takes. So by bringing the knight here, I force the retreat, or the retreat in that square. I wasn't thinking about this one. Let's check.
(10초) 남았습니다.
Cannon takes.
10초 남았습니다.
I have absolutely no idea what to do. I'm kind of struggling with time. Don't know, I'm a bit in a hurry here. So that was a bad move, my knight. It was not a good idea, because that's simply like wasting the tempo. And now I have to come back because the threat is to bring here, and at the same time you will be able to retreat there. No, that was for sure not a good move. Check, yeah. Alright, so I have to go back because the guard here is protecting the cannon, so that's the only piece that works. And yeah, that's the trouble. So
(10초) 남았습니다.
there's no great squares, but I need to play with my rook, and if I move the rook then he would threaten the knight. So I prefer to sacrifice the knight, even if I think the game will be lost. I can't even bring the rook to the very end because of the elephant. Yeah, I already tried to think about this. Okay. It would be the pawn here that may be useful to push. But I'm not sure I will have time because those pawns are already pretty far advanced. Since the rook is covering them, but I'm not sure that will be enough. And the cannon back to the center, which is kind of painful. (21-21). I could go there to threaten that guard. Okay, now he goes back to the center. That's a way to unpin the cannon and at the same time give a support here. Threatening the elephant and check. So not so much to do. And we may have a funny elephant check, but it can be covered by the rook or simply the king.
(10초) 남았습니다.
Rook there, that's a double attack. So you have to let that go. Now I try something, but it seems like the game is soon over. Okay, not so convinced about that move. Don't know what it brings. Rook there was more aggressive. Okay. Still there will be a painful square with the elephant at some point. Not yet. Pawn here, that doesn't work, yeah. There's a rook discovery, but I simply bring the rook back, and that's prevent the check, even if it's not great. And that's not so much material here. Okay, he should have gone for a rook here, in my opinion. That would be a way to gain a pawn. No, the pawn check. Sorry, pawn check. That's over. I was trying to get some space, but not working. Okay, I don't know why he missed that one. Check. uh,
10초 남았습니다.
pawn here. There is a cannon takes. Okay, that's for rook check. Not sure. That was a great move. Pretty sure that was a bad move. The game stops in 200 moves, whatever happens. Okay, I can push the pawn there, but bringing the rook here.
10초 남았습니다.
That's to avoid the rook from going back, and if the rook goes somewhere else, then that's checkmate. So I was expecting him to take, and if I take, there is rook here and rook checkmate, so that's not a way to take back. If you mean it's server, I can say that I'm playing against a player, that's not a computer. So here that's defended by the cannon, so there's no checkmate. There's only checkmate if he moves the rook somewhere else, but yeah. So he pass. When you have more score and you pass, that's okay. If I have
10초 남았습니다.
still I'm locked because if I take rook check, rook middle, I'm not sure what are you trying to say, but is it playing server? It's simply kakao Janggi, and I'm playing against a Korean, so he didn't forget to bring back the rook. And there's actually nothing I can do.
10초 남았습니다.
Try to bring back, but yeah, it's kakao Janggi, and I'm playing with a BlueStack. That's a emulator for a computer, but yeah, but the king opposition doesn't work. If the king opposition was working, I would have played the guard here, but still I would lose with points. Hmm. 84, 85, that's not working because it simply takes the guard. No, it's not implemented on kakao Janggi. That's different from pie chess.
10초 남았습니다.
Okay, so we won because of the clock, but that's a bit a shame. That was dead here. Yeah, that's a mobile app for playing Korean chess, but there is some there's an overlay that I use for streaming, but otherwise that's the application kakao Janggi, as you can see here. And we got no way to bring one done today because we are 5 leagues to 1 done, and that's on for now 5 victory to gain a league, and after it will be 7 or even 10. So I think. I don't know what it's not playing. There may be a a little issue because I cannot play there. Oh, he's not anymore in the game. Mm-hmm. It looks like the game kind of crashed, so I will simply restart Kakao Janggi. Yeah, the arrows still are working, so that's great. Alright, sorry for that little bug, not sure that where it comes from. And we are again with... Okay, so here the guy resigned. He simply cancelled the game, that's not a victory. That was the same opponent and he again resigned, so I will wait a few seconds. It's a bit complicated to find some game tonight. And here those are the 9 Dan games that are being able, that I could watch if I want. Alright, so outer song and I will go for inner song. So let us check the opponent. He has a ton of games and a lot of victories, so he's still on a winning situation here. And I go for exchanging the middle pawn. Yeah, I go for inner song when it's outer song because I prefer. Still, the position is symmetric between left and right, but it's not symmetric the other side. And I will try to... yeah. So here he needs that knight to protect this one, and this knight is needed to protect from the fork. So basically that elephant cannot go here, otherwise I could simply take. And so I will try to put some pressure on the rook. And he plays for the move to avoid it, of course. Okay, that's the idea, is to bring the rook and then maybe sacrifice because the knight would be pinned. And the counterpart is that the rook cannot go here since the pawn blocked that. Alright, so there is an elephant here, but in that case cannon takes. So before that I will retreat the knight. To this square. If I brought the knight here, then cannon takes, pawn takes and rook check, and I lose the knight. So here the elephant is not covering anymore the knight, so the knight is hanging, but is it a good idea to take it? That's the question. Seems like yes. Elephant will take. Yeah. Okay, maybe that was calculated. Simply an intermediary move to block the elephant, and the idea is that he has to bring the pawn here, so at some point I may be able to play this fork between the guard and the cannon. And now rook takes, threatening discovery. That's a bit weird. He's playing bot moves. That's... Elephant takes, threatening the knight, but on elephant takes, knight here. Rook there, and the counterpart is that that elephant is trapped. Of course I will have to mind the cannon, but the knight is covering, so that's okay for now. Maybe it's time to play this fork. Yeah. Best move is cannon back there, because that allows the knight to cover. Okay. I'm not sure about this. Because I can go back with it. I don't want to bring the knight here, because that would unleash the elephant and then checkmate a few moves after. Alright, so I can take the elephant. Yeah. Yep, I will go for that pawn. That's not forking the rook dead directly, but I may sacrifice it. Oh, that's not even protected. So we'll have to... takes. Yeah. And here, if rook there, I can get some support with the knight. And now we have a good situation, because his fortress is completely empty. What if king takes? Take. and we are fine because the knights cover here, and there's no way that a cannon goes quickly. Knight here will check the middle.
(10초) 남았습니다.
There was I think, a little trap.
(10초) 남았습니다.
So the knight covers, the elephant covers the knight. Yeah, looks dangerous, but at the same time, I could have kind of lost the game. I will show you after that. Okay. If I go here, that's rook check, check, and checkmate. So maybe the best is here, since there's no risk that something happens. And now, oh, okay, I missed that. Yeah, no, I should have simply kept the same solution, but I show you the risk before. Here, if something a bit too much passive arrives, I don't know, like this knight here, that's a checkmate. If the rooks brings that, yeah, I could simply have waited, and here I have to move the knight, and there's not so much squares to do so. I don't know, bringing the knight here, but the problem is check, and I have only one square, and now I took the pawn, and it would be hard to defend the fortress. So I should have won that game, but I mean, I should have lost the previous one, so that's okay. And again, we are with Cho. The elephant could have retreat to that square like this. So after that, he would have controlled this square, and the rook would have check, and maybe the rook would have go here and provide kind of checkmate. That's why I think I had to take the elephant. You went with this cannon. Okay. What about elephant here? Okay. Alright, there is some cool holes here that I will use. And also I may target some weaknesses with the cannon and get back the file. Right here for sure. So he may defend with the pawn, and after the idea is to bring the elephant. No problems. Yeah, I'll try to not mess up and win that game. Alright, so he defended with the rook, which is safe. And now we won this column, and the idea will be to get some play for the rooks, or maybe even sacrifice the cannon to that spot. Check. Pawn here is kind of forced because there is the rook. Yeah, sometimes my laptop has to blow a bit more. So the pawn was attacked and he decided to go and defend with this. The problem is that the column here may be a problem because the cannon is there and I simply need to remove the elephant, and that will be a lot of attacks. And of course there is a discovery here, but the rook has no squares, no great squares to go. So that's not a big issue in that position. And he cannot retreat the pawns because they are not supported. So the next idea is to okay, yeah, remove something, of course. I will remove the knight so that there's a threat of checkmate for now. And here the knight is, oh sorry, that knight is now hanging because of the cannon, and he has to find a way back, but there will be a threat on that pawn because that pawn cannot be pushed since there is the, yeah, he can push it, but that will create a hole. I haven't considered so much this one. 21, 24. Yeah, that's that was the best move, I think. A very nice sacrifice, because if Guard takes, then the square is free and a rook checkmate. So that was good. Knight, and here it doesn't work because it can be taken with the cannon. The idea is that if rook check, then that cannot be bring back to protect, and it has to go. And now, as it was wisely suggested, rook takes. Yeah. Rook takes. Yeah, well done for having found that. Yeah, I have a new micro now, and that's better. I think, I don't know. I hope for you that's better. Okay. I can bring another one. So takes no. Yeah. And now we have a lot of advantage in terms of attack, but also in terms of material. Still, I cannot take the cannon because there's a threat here, and I have to bring back the knight, so that will be a bit harmful for that file, but that's the way to defend. And at the same time, since if the cannon here is not pinned anymore, then simply take the rook. And there's a lot to defend for red. Sacrificing doesn't work because rook takes and the cannon is again pinned. Elephant here needs a bit better. Okay, so he released the threat. Simply threatening the rook. rook here. Yeah. If guard takes, that's a big mistake because rook takes cannon. That's check because of the cannon and the rook, and after I take back the rook. So that's basically a cannon and a rook for only a rook. But the idea is not to hope that it will fall in the trap, but more to give a different axis of activation for the rook. I was expecting this. And we finally got the combination. It's a simple intermediate check, but that's to give another threat on that. Okay. Let's bring the king to that square. Hook there. Not great. Check. Simply bring the cannon, the guard, and there's no way that this is over. And boom. All right. So back to the last situation. And now I will play Inner Sang. I'm not sure about Cannon there because he already was in control of the file and he's giving the cannon the central file and he's playing 2 times the same piece in opening, so those are a lot of reasons for which I'm not so convinced. And he may bring the elephant, so that's also an elephant that is attracted to the outer space. There is a simple but deadly threat here. Check. Alright. Not falling in the trap, of course. if elephant takes, I can take with this pawn. And now he goes with the cannon, and I don't really mind. Cannon here to check, and maybe to go back here and attack the rook, but since the cannon can comes back, I may not do that, but of course I will check. And he may bring that cannon, for example. And back in the game. Those are some idea to get some play for the rook and then target that, but he will prevent the file. Uh, 151 or 53. Yeah, that could have worked. Now that's my turn to be a bit annoying with the file. And since there is a lot of pressure here that may come because of the cannon, and this cannon is pinned, then I simply take back that file and probably play the rook here. No, then in 51 to target some, and he does exactly the same here. There is something I hope that elephant takes, pawn takes, cannon takes, and then a rook here, knight here. That's the only way to cover. And that's losing a pawn for an elephant, but that's also giving some play for the rook, and I think that's a better counterpart. Okay. Cannon takes, rook here, knight here, that's the only way to protect. And after that, knight here, so that the cannon is attacked and there is kind of no way to go back. Okay, see you. I have to be careful that the knight is not doing any check because there is a rook opposition. Rook check. No, I saw that it was threatening the cannon, but I missed the check. Sorry, I'm not playing very good once again. There's no rush to take the knight, so I prefer to use the fact that the guard is here to activate the cannon before. Whoop. Wow. Sorry, I'm not really playing well tonight. I think I will stop there because like I'm completely blind, I'm not able to really focus on get the threats. So yeah, that's all for today for me. But thanks for having followed that, and see you tomorrow for puzzles that will be Checkmate in 3 around 5 p.m. I also said that last week, but I had to go somewhere else and I couldn't be here for the weekend. But I will be here tomorrow for a puzzle together. So see you and have a nice evening, and sorry for the poor performance. That was not great. Goodbye.